Hello, everyone, and welcome to the February Strive webinar presented by Kapnick Strive. Today, we're talking all about the microbiome, your well-being, and how we can support our own healthy guts. Before we jump right in, feel free to type any questions that you may have into the Q&A box. We will try and answer all your questions towards the end of the presentation. So did you know that there are more bacterial cells in your body than human cells? What's more, there are up to 1,000 species of bacteria in the human gut microbiome, and each of them plays a different role in your body. So before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's talk about what microbiome actually is. So we can think of the gut microbiome as a bustling city made up of trillions of microbes. So bacteria, fungi, viruses, and other microbes, all working together to keep you healthy. This city lives in your digestive tract and plays a massive role in how your body functions, from breaking down food to influencing your mood. It's like having a tiny ecosystem inside you that constantly adapts and responds to what you eat, how you live, and even how you feel. So there's no one right way to have a healthy microbiome. Just like we are all different, all of our microbiomes are different. That being said, there's a few things that healthy guts do have in common. A healthy gut isn't just having a lot of different bacteria in your gut. It's about having a right balance and diversity. So think of it like a garden, as you can see in the image here. If we're only planting one crop and a blight comes along, what happens? Well, we lose our entire crop. So if we're planting a variety of crops and a blight comes along, we are more likely to have some crops survive. And the same is true for our gut microbes. The more diverse the species, the stronger and more resilient the environment. And when it comes to a well-balanced gut, this means a variety of beneficial bacteria working together, fewer harmful bacteria that cause inflammation or digestive issues, and the ability to bounce back after changes, like a course of antibiotics or a diet shift. Now, when your gut is happy, you're more likely to feel energized, digest food smoothly, and have a strong immune system. But when it's out of balance, well, that's when issues like bloating, fatigue, or even skin problems can pop up, all of which we'll be talking about a little later in the presentation. Now, what influences a healthy gut? Your gut microbiome is shaped by a variety of different factors, starting from quite literally the womb. Now, these are only a few influences that we're going to be sharing, as there are so many more. But even how we are born has an impact. So, babies born vaginally tend to have a gut microbiome more similar to their mother's vaginal microbiome, while babies born via C-section have a microbiome more closely resembling bacteria found in the hospital environment, often including skin bacteria. Now, this isn't to say that one is better than the other. Remember, we are all different and our microbiomes are different too. There is more research being done on the impacts that birth method has on the microbiome, including its effect on the immune system, allergies, digestion, and nutrient absorption. So following birth, breastfeeding also influences our gut microbiome from an early age, as breast milk contains prebiotics and beneficial bacteria that help shape a healthy gut. And this is all to say that while there can be some big changes between our gut early on. Research has shown that our microbiomes, while individually unique, tend to become more similar over time due to our environments, regardless of how our birth method or feeding source. So the second is the biggest influence on our gut, which is diet. Now, what we actually eat has that big impact. Eating fiber-rich whole foods supports a diverse and resilient microbiome. So processed foods and high sugar intake, do you think that has a healthy influence? Not so much. Excuse me, medications also has an impact. So antibiotics, NSAIDs like aspirin, ibuprofen, and even antacids like Tums can disrupt our gut balance. While sometimes necessary, they should be used carefully. And lastly, but most certainly not least, lifestyle factors. Think stress, sleep, and exercise all play a role in gut health. Chronic stress can harm gut bacteria, while regular movement and quality sleep support a thriving microbiome. Now, this leads to the benefits of having a healthy gut microbiome. Remember, there are more bacteria cells in our body than human cells, so it's no surprise that the microbiome influences so many parts of our health and well being. Our microbiome influences, most notably, digestion, but it also benefits our mental health, immunity, metabolism, and skin health, just to name a few. And there is an increasingly amount of research being done on the gut and its connections to our bodies. But in the next few slides, we're going to give a rundown on each of these benefits. So, starting with digestion. Have you ever eaten something and felt super bloated afterwards? Or maybe you struggle with irregular digestion. Your gut bacteria has a big say in how well your digestive system functions. A healthy microbiome makes digestion easier by first breaking down food. Your gut microbiomes help break down fiber, proteins, and carbs from the foods that we eat so that your body can absorb all that good stuff like vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that we need to support all of the systems and processes that occur in our body. And our gut bacteria not only breaks things down, it also creates products. Gut bacteria make something called short chain fatty acids, and these little guys help keep your gut lining strong, support colon health, and reduce inflammation. And that can lead to discomfort and disease. A well balanced gut microbiome also helps keep things moving. So, reducing constipation, diarrhea, and bloating. It does this by keeping harmful bacteria in check. Beneficial microbes fight off harmful bacteria that can cause infections or digestive discomfort. So, if you do want a smoother digestive experience, taking care of your gut is key. So next is our gut's influence on our brain. Yes, you heard that, our brain. Have you ever had butterflies in your stomach before a big event or felt your digestion go haywire when you're stressed? That's the gut brain axis in action. The gut brain axis is the direct two-way communication system between your gut and your brain. Now, your gut and brain are constantly chatting through the vagus nerve, which runs from your brain to your heart and your gut. And the vagus nerve serves as a kind of information superhighway that connects the brain and gut. But that's not all. Your gut microbes also produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which influence your mood, emotions, and even cognitive function. In fact, about 90% of your body's serotonin, that feel good chemical, is made right in your gut. And a balanced gut can make you feel calm, focused, and energized, while an imbalanced one can contribute to stress, anxiety, and brain fog. So let's learn how. Like we said, your gut bacteria produces neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, which play a key role in reducing anxiety and depression. An unhealthy gut may lead to imbalances in these chemicals, impacting your mood. And your gut microbiome also influences how your body responds to stress. A well balanced gut helps regulate cortisol levels, that stress hormone, preventing you from feeling constantly wired or fatigued. A healthy gut also supports brain function, memory, and concentration. Research suggests that gut imbalances may be linked to conditions like ADHD, Alzheimer's, and brain fog. And since serotonin, which is later converted into melatonin, the sleep hormone, is largely produced in the gut, which is that healthy microbiome can even help you fall asleep faster and improve sleep quality. Now that's how the gut influences the brain, but the axis does go both ways. So, how does the brain influence the gut? Well, if you're constantly stressed, anxious, or lacking sleep, it can throw your gut microbiome out of balance, which can lead to increased inflammation, which damages your gut lining and leads to digestive issues. You may have noticed how stress can cause bloating, stomach cramps, or even diarrhea. That's your brain sending signals, distress signals to your gut. And lastly, chronic stress slows down digestion, making it harder for your body to absorb nutrients. And we'll talk about ways to support our gut and our brain a little bit later in the webinar.
Alrighty. Now, beyond the brain, your microbiome has an influence on other body systems as well. You might not realize it, but your gut health is closely linked to inflammation levels throughout your body, including your skin. So, if your gut microbiome is out of whack, it can trigger chronic inflammation, which has been linked to conditions like arthritis, autoimmune diseases, and you guessed it, skin problems. So, here's how a happy gut helps. So much like the gut brain axis that Lexi just talked about, the gut and the skin are connected through the gut skin axis. Now, when your gut is balanced, it can help calm skin flare ups and reduce redness. When your gut is imbalanced, it can contribute to inflammation and skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis, and acne. We also know that good gut bacteria help metabolize nutrients like vitamins A, C, and E that contribute to skin hydration and elasticity. A healthy gut microbiome also produces compounds that help regulate your immune system and keep overall inflammation in the body under control, protecting you from aching joints and muscles. So, if you've been dealing with breakouts or irritated skin or feelings of inflammation, your gut might be the missing piece of the puzzle. On to energy and weight management. I know I have. If you've ever felt sluggish after eating, or if you've ever struggled with weight changes that don't make sense, this might be due to the microbiome. So, your gut bacteria help determine how efficiently you convert food into energy, store fat, and regulate your metabolism. So, here's how your gut produces hormones like leptin and ghrelin. These are hunger hormones that control hunger and feelings of fullness. A balanced gut helps prevent overeating and unnecessary cravings. Next, when your gut is functioning well, you absorb nutrients more efficiently, meaning your body is using less energy to facilitate bodily processes. This translates to better energy levels that you can feel. Gut microbes also have different jobs. Different bacteria do different things. So some gut bacteria promote fat storage because all bodies need a healthy amount of fat in order to survive, while other gut bacteria work to break fat down. So a diverse microbiome helps prevent an overabundance of fat storage, which results in weight gain, and helps support a healthy metabolism. And lastly, a healthy gut has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, which reduces the risk of not only having energy crashes, but of developing diabetes as well. So again, by taking care of your gut, you can naturally support your energy levels and also make weight management easier. Now, you might not immediately think of your gut when considering heart health, but they're closely linked. Remember the vagus nerve that connects the brain and the gut? Well, it passes right by the heart. So your gut bacteria help regulate cholesterol, blood pressure, and inflammation, which are three key factors in heart disease risk. Now, like we said, gut microbes have different jobs. Some gut bacteria help break down bile acids that are produced by the liver, and this assists in processing the cholesterol that we eat. Doing this helps balance cholesterol levels in our blood. Additionally, a healthy gut produces compounds that relax blood vessels and lower blood pressure, making it easier for your heart to pump blood throughout the body. Science shows that chronic inflammation is a major contributor to heart disease. And as we've talked about, a well-functioning gut helps keep inflammation in the body in check. So again, by feeding your gut the right foods, you're doing your heart a huge favor. Now that we've covered many of the benefits of a healthy microbiome, it's important that we take a look at the symptoms of an unhealthy or imbalanced gut. So dysbiosis is a fancy word for an unbalanced gut microbiome. Now, when harmful bacteria outnumber the beneficial ones, it can lead to a whole range of issues. Before we talk about symptoms, it's important to note what causes these imbalances. So things like a diet high in sugar and processed foods, overusing antibiotics to treat illnesses, chronic stress, and lack of physical activity are all associated with poor gut health. You'll notice that these causes aren't uncommon. Many of us eat processed foods. Occasionally, we need to use antibiotics when we're sick, and we may have periods of less physical activity in our life. This is why it's so important to understand what dysbiosis looks like and what we can do about it. Now, dysbiosis can manifest with a wide variety of symptoms depending on the specific bacteria involved and the individual's overall health. Some people may experience only mild symptoms, while others may have more severe or persistent issues. So if you're experiencing one or multiple symptoms on this slide, like digestion issues, aching joints, skin changes, mood changes, brain fog, it's recommended that you talk to your healthcare provider for a proper diagnosis and treatment. Now, you may have heard that there are at-home microbiome tests on the market. However, it's important to know that the tests are not very reliable and there's no good benchmark for comparison since everyone's microbiome is unique. Your microbiome also changes daily based on a number of factors. So if you're curious about your gut or experiencing any of these symptoms of dysbiosis, talk to your doctor or a GI specialist. And the good news here is that even if you're experiencing symptoms of dysbiosis, your gut can be restored with the right habits. So let's talk about some of the things that we can do. Starting off with pre and probiotics. Now, you've likely heard of probiotics. These are the good bacteria themselves that help build a balanced microbiome. Some good sources of probiotics include yogurt, kefir, cottage cheese, miso, tempeh, olives, kimchi, sauerkraut, sourdough bread, pickles, pickle juice, kombucha. The list goes on, and you might notice something in common. All of these foods and drinks undergo a fermentation process that encourages the growth of beneficial bacteria. Additionally, probiotics are available in supplement form, which can be a convenient option for those who may not regularly consume these foods or for those who just generally don't like the taste of fermented foods. Consult with your primary care provider if you're curious as to what type of probiotic supplement might work best for you. Now, A lot of us have heard of probiotics, but a lot of us haven't heard of prebiotics. These are the food that feeds your good bacteria. So these are ingredients in certain foods that our bodies can't fully digest. So they travel through our digestive system down to our gut bacteria to eat. Examples of prebiotics include some starches, oligosaccharides, inulin, and pectin. These are all fancy words, but they tend to be found most plentiful in high fiber foods like asparagus, artichokes, bananas, beans, lentils, and whole grains. So for the best results for your gut, aim to include both probiotics and prebiotics in your diet. And you can think of it as planting a garden in your gut and then fertilizing that garden. Now, beyond the foods that we eat, there are things that we can do to support not only our gut, but also our overall well-being. Firstly, managing stress. We've talked about how chronic stress can affect our gut, but what can we do to manage stress? We can try things like incorporating a meditation practice, deep breathing, and even taking a walk outside can help calm your nervous system and support gut health. Staying active is another huge factor. So regular exercise promotes the growth of beneficial gut bacteria and also, we know, helps regulate stress levels. Prioritizing sleep. So a well-rested brain means a well-functioning gut. Remember the gut-brain axis? So we want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep to support our brain and therefore our gut. And lastly, we can avoid or moderate things that we know have a negative impact on our gut, including processed foods and fried foods, foods that are high in sugar. Alcohol also has an impact on our gut health, so we want to avoid or moderate alcohol and unnecessary antibiotics. Now, I do want to note here that antibiotics are incredibly necessary for certain conditions, so we don't want to discredit all antibiotic use, but do talk to your doctor if you have any concerns about antibiotic use. As we wrap up today's webinar, we ask ourselves, am I listening to my gut? This question can apply to a lot of areas of our life, but think about, are we listening to our microbes in our gut? Now, on this slide, there are a number of wonderful resources for learning more. Firstly is Dietitian Connection. There are tons of free resources like recipe books, guide sheets, health challenges, videos, podcasts, and more, all created by nutrition experts and medical professionals. So this is a wonderful resource, not only for gut health, but for nutrition in general. Next is the Gut Health Podcast. This is hosted by a GI dietitian and psychologist, and it's all about the gut, food, microbes, and well-being. They also dive into different gut conditions like celiac, Crohn's disease, how to navigate diet, treatment, all of those kinds of things. So a wonderful podcast here from professionals. And lastly, The Mind-Gut Connection. This is a book written by GI specialist and neuroscientist, Emerin Meyer, and it looks closer at that brain-gut axis. So if you're interested in learning more about how our gut and our brain interacts, how our mood is influenced, this is a wonderful book for that. And we thank you for joining our webinar today to learn more about gut health. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email us at strive@kapnick.com and join our next webinar on March 26th from noon to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In that presentation, we're going to be talking about thriving with purpose and how we can align our actions with our own personal values. You can scan the QR code on this slide to register or visit the Strive library. Thank you again for joining, and we hope to see you in March.
So before we wrap up, we also received a question, a couple of questions I wanted to answer. Will we receive a copy of today's presentation? Yes, right after this, we'll be sending out the recording of this presentation. Um, you can also find it in the Strive library, so we will send that out to you shortly. In addition, there was a question about over-the-counter prebiotics or probiotics. Now, there's a couple of things to keep in mind when it comes to these. So, one, yes, you can take probiotics and prebiotics, but you do need to remember that supplements like a prebiotic and probiotic are not regulated. So it could have more of one strand or less of a strand than it actually is marketed. So it's really important to make sure that it is tested by a third party. And then before you start any type of supplement into your regime, I would definitely talk to a GI specialist or your primary care doctor about adding in a new supplement because it may have an interaction with your medication if you're taking any. And then another thing, because probiotics and prebiotics do have a digestive impact, I always say start slow because if you tend to have an upset stomach as soon as you take it, I would pull back from the amount that you're taking. So as Emma said, if you do have any questions regarding this presentation, feel free to reach out to us at strive@kapnick.com.